Yeah, you knew this video was coming, didn't you? You did know. Sinbara and Goron by episode 13 is by and large one of the biggest talking points in Digimon right now. And we have touched on this topic a few times in several videos, but I want to get a video where we can collate all of that information, opinion and comments, and just bring it to light as to why Angoramon has not evolved yet, and when he will evolve to Sinbara and Goron. And bearing in mind before I get the, "This tastes like milk, dude." After episode 14 and before episode 15, we could very well get Sinbara and Goron episode 15. But the point in this video is, why haven't we gotten Sinbara and Goron thus far? Why has it taken so long? You know, Digimon Tamers is always the immediate comparison when it comes to Digimon Ghost Game because of its natural slow build-up and world building style with a small cast. But even in Digimon Tamers we hit the perfect level in episode 14, and that was for a slow Digimon series. Whereas at the very earliest we are getting the final champion level form in episode 15 at the potential earliest.
I just told you!
And I'm actually very much the minority in believing that there have been enough opportunities to have Sinbara and Goron up until this point. However, the reality is a lot of you just do not agree with me.
Well, why are you boring me? I'm right!
And justify this on some potential wider character arc with Angoramon, and I'm going to get into the reasons why. So the comments I'll discuss here, once again, I'll leave anonymous in case some weirdo decides to get personal about it and attack the people leaving the comments. You just never know. But these were from the episodes 11 to 12 period, when the discussion about Sinbara and Goron was very prominent, but I'm sure some of you recognise your comments when you see them. So comment 1 states that I think this episode was needed because Ruli was falling behind the past few episodes. I loved seeing their dynamic because I think it's very easy to just assume that they were the most connected of the partners, but to see that they were actually not, and gave Angoramon some personality, highlighting that he would keep Digimon Hangout a secret spot, a secret even from his human partner, and really some character development in her expecting Angoramon to tell her to be her pet almost. It was a good episode overall. Generally, I would agree that there's definitely a time and a place for Ruli and Angoramon to have mix-ups and scenarios happen because they never really had a lot of time to work together properly, but episodes 3 and 6, kind of. Maybe episode 7 in the group battle. Anyway, my thoughts on episode 11 was that they kind of devolved Ruli's character from this ultra-rational character to someone with some petty expectation of a Digimon or even person. Like, they had to create non-existent friction between the two characters because they realised that amongst the entire cast, the only irrational character really is Gamamon. So they had to kind of pretend create some debacle, which I don't think was very sincere. Which is why I didn't really prefer having that episode over just having a Sinbara and Goron debut, much like we kind of just more casually had Tesla Jagumon's debut. Comment 2 states that I do agree in the sense that it was a mixed bag coming off of last week's episode. However, I think the reason it's taking longer for Ruli and Angoramon is likely due to what is going to happen to the rabbit when he evolves. Out of all the partners, Angora is the one that changes the most upon evolving, so this is likely going to be the start of many fights between him and Ruli. Lamortmon is a killing machine with an ego, so Repamon might have been a reference to that and low-key foreshadowing. So this comment addresses the stark contrast between what his evolutions appear to be and his character right now. Maybe he is afraid and refrains from evolving for that reason. You know, this could be the case, and are definitely adding more layers of significance to Angoramon and his evolution as many weeks roll on by. But if the actual personality of Lamortmon does not match the expectation that the audience had for Lamortmon, then what? Did we waste time? Comment 3 says, best episode so far, probably the only episode I enjoyed start to finish. Also, I think it was a good choice to not have an evolution back to back. I actually like how evolution's introduced since they actually serve a purpose rather than just being introduced for the sake of evolution. I can definitely agree that some episodes can be great without the need for evolution. I think episode 8 is a fantastic example of this. And especially with the fight scene in episode 11 being so great. I mean, they had Shida working on it, so it was always going to be great. It helped. But I think it boils down to what for the sake of evolution means. And what if Shida didn't animate that brief fight scene? If Angoramon did evolve in episode 11, would we be sat here now saying that that was the complete wrong time to have that evolution? So I'm not saying it was the right time to have the evolution in episode 11, I'm saying we wouldn't really be mulling over why they put it in episode 11, if that makes sense. This comment is a bit of a long one, but I'll leave it on the screen for you for a bit longer. But generally speaking, to sum it up, without completely butchering and strawmanning it, it more or less agrees with comment 1, but brings up a potential future issue regarding Ruli's character, and how she perceives Gammamon and Hiro like a jealousy situation. I suppose she does constantly surround herself with friends and is rarely alone. Does she want what Hiro and Gammamon have? Is she frustrated with Angoramon's more aloof and distant behaviour and wants to be closer? Jealousy from Ruli could be a proponent of a very strong character arc. I do hope they go with that, because so far all the three main characters are very ultra rational types, and I just don't think they would have some petty argument right now. But if they reveal later Ruli has these more deeper insecurities about their situation as tamers, then I could get behind that. This commenter says, I'm going to defend the lack of Sinbara and Goromon at present. First, he's already plenty powerful in his rookie form, and also being bigger than Gammamon or Jellymon, so he's believably is the one who could hold his own for longest without needing a champion form. Furthermore, one of the first things we learned about him way back in episode 3 was that he was hesitant to even materialize. Unlike Gammamon, who was very simple-minded but quick to jump into action, and Jellymon, who very much wants others to acknowledge her superiority, there is not a lot about Angoramon that pushes him towards the pursuit of power. And from what we've seen of Lamortmon, his evolution line does lead into forms which appear potentially feral and dangerous. I think given Angoramon's peaceful nature and warrior poet type personality, it could be the case that he simply doesn't want to evolve, because he is scared of the damage he might inflict if he would become too powerful, especially around the ones he loved like Ruli. Now this comment got a whopping 40 likes, and I think ratioed me into oblivion.
You are dead wrong.
And it makes a fair point. Angoramon is a pretty strong Digimon even as a rookie, as we've seen over the weeks, and this has been constantly proven time and time again. I suppose he does have this warrior poet mentality, where he never feels the need to seek out power to do good by others, which includes even protecting Ruli. You know, even going head to head with Repmon for an extended period is enough evidence to say that he'd have to be pushed pretty hard, you know, pushed to the absolute limits to want to Digivolve. Therefore, because the evolution wasn't needed there and then, us wanting a Digivolution is just a want at that point. Now, I take nothing away from this comment, and I'm not trying to retrospectively debunk the comment after a few episodes have passed, because they have new knowledge that's just kind of disingenuous, but we arrived at episode 13 in a scenario, a grave scenario, where Gullus Gammon was about to smoke the entire gang, instant killing Sealsdramon, swatting away Tesla Jellymon, after breaking a hole in the augmented reality digital world. For weeks on end, myself and many of you hypothesized that maybe we would get the Sinbara and Goramon evolution in an episode with Gullus Gammon, because of the connection that Angoramon and Gammon have made over 13 episodes, and they are pretty close. So that would be a pretty good reason to Digivolve as a means of stopping his friend. I think it would have made a phenomenal moment, and the internet would have loved episode 13 a lot more than they already did, because after all, that idea did come from you guys. But instead of seizing the moment in episode 13, where they were potentially going to suffer mortal wounds or even death, Angoramon nor Ruli had the intention to Digivolve to try and protect their friends and stop Gammamon. So if it's not to protect Ruli, and it's not to help Gammamon, what is it? So this is my question, or questions. How many good opportunities need to pass before people start wondering why Angoramon isn't evolving? Or if episode 15 rolls around, and he does evolve to Sinbara and Angoramon, was that situation ripe enough for the event? Or had a better opportunity already passed? Granted, maybe there is some deeper plot related reason why Sinbara and Angoramon just hasn't happened yet, or rather took so long to appear. But until we start seeing some evidence of that, the viewer can only be more and more confused. Especially when everyone around him is getting evolutions, and Gammon has 4. But for anyone watching this video after the debut of Sinbara and Goramon trying to leave an age like milk comment, I hope it gets 1,000 likes and everyone sees it. They won't. But I hope for the sake of all Angoramon fans, when it inevitably does roll around, I hope there is a very good reason why they saved Sinbara and Goramon all this time, and that they add more emotional emphasis to Sinbara and Goramon's debut, like many suggest. But everyone, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching my video. Please like so other people can find it. Leave a comment as to why you think it hasn't happened, when it's gonna happen, and how it's gonna happen. I'll leave some videos in the end screen for you so you can watch them when you have your dinner. I really appreciate your time, but most importantly, take care.